gonna eat them. I'm gonna eat them.
Hello team. Today is St. Nicholas Day, December 6th, 2018, and we want to share with you a little about what we do on St. Nicholas Day. But before we begin, just a little spoiler alert, we're going to talk about a chubby man that lives in the North Pole. So if you have kids that like that tradition, you might not want them to watch this video. You might want to skip this one.
We always tell our kids you can't be the one who destroys little people's imaginations or their dreams and hopes. So we don't want to be that for your kids.
So different families deal with that tradition in different ways. In our family, we've chosen not to do Santa Claus and Easter Bunny and Tooth Fairy. Those are kind of the big three, mostly because we feel like we're lying to our children if we tell them these things are real and then they're not. Now there are plenty of Christian families, other families that do those things. No judgment on them at all. It's just the conviction that we've come to as a family.
And I stink at lying. I am not a good liar. If you ever see me, I'm trying to lie. It's like my face does weird things. And so if my kids would say, "Is Santa real?" the Lord gave them to me, and they gave them to me a really straight up person. So I'm just like, no. That's just how it comes out. I can't think of any other way to say it than the truth. So.
But the biggest reason is that we don't want to lie to our kids about Santa and about the Easter Bunny and the Tooth Fairy, and then have them grow up and think, well, maybe we were lying about Jesus too. Mm-hmm. And that's the most important thing. We want Jesus to be the truth. We know Jesus is the truth. And so we've structured our holiday traditions around that. So on Easter, we don't focus on the Easter Bunny. We focus on the resurrection of Jesus, mm-hmm. which is not to say we don't have a fun hunt for things in our house. The kids just have no thought that was an Easter Bunny that laid those things there.
But around Christmas time, our goal is around Christmas we're blessed to be Anglicans, and we have this gorgeous tradition called Advent. And in Advent, it's the 4 weeks leading up to Christmas. We have all these opportunities to talk about Jesus and to talk about serving and to talk about loving others. And we focus on that. And back when we had just little babies, so we have 6 kids, and I've been having babies, nursing and having babies for over a decade, and so that's been a lot of life. And when they were really tiny and we only had like just small children, we were trying to figure out, what do we do with them? What do we do with them during those cold months? And with those, we lived up north, so it was not lovely and warm and sunny. It was cold and gray and dark. And I kept saying, how do I bring alive this season for them to talk about Jesus? And Chris, you love liturgy, so you can talk about Advent.
Well, Advent, it's a season of preparation for Christmas, mm-hmm. but also for the second coming of Christ. And so we try and hold off on singing Christmas music in our house and other things, because there's this whole season of preparation with its own richness, its own music. And so in this season, we like to focus on those Advent traditions. So you do see a Christmas tree behind us. However, we call it a Jesse tree until Christmas. And so
it's very bare. It's just a green tree with white lights. And then each night we pull out an ornament, a Jesse tree ornament, and we talk about, it's part of the salvation story, and we hang it up on the tree. One of the kids does. And then so the tree slowly begins to fill up, but it's filling up with images from the Bible that tell the salvation story. And then we put up, and you can see above Krista's head, we put up stockings, but we do that for St. Nicholas Day. So for St. Nicholas Day, what do we like to do?
Well, first of all, we're going to let the kids tell you a little about who St. Nicholas was, and where some of the St. Nicholas Day traditions have come from. So here's the kids.
St. Nicholas was born in the 3rd century.
In a place that is now southern Turkey. His parents were wealthy,
but they died when he was young.
Nicholas used his inheritance to help poor people.
One story that is told about Saint Nicholas
involves 3 daughters of a poor man.
The man was so poor
that he couldn't afford dowries to help his daughters get married.
And on a number of occasions,
Nicholas is said to have secretly thrown bags of gold coins
in the windows to help the strangers. The coins ended in some of the stockings,
which were hanging by the fire to dry. Because of this story,
some people leave shoes or stockings
by the fireplace
on the eve of St. Nicholas Day
in the hope that a present might be found there in the morning.
When Nicholas was adult, he became Bishop of Myra.
In his role as bishop,
he experienced intense persecution at the hands of the Emperor of Diocletian. After getting no present,
Nicholas attended the Council of Nicaea, from which we get the Nicene Creed. Nicholas died in 343 AD.
And remember today
is one who cared for the poor and the children.
To learn more about St. Nicholas,
visit stnicholascenter.org.
So now you know who St. Nicholas was. The kids did a great job of explaining that. Now, what do we do with that? Well, they talked about that story about the girls and St. Nicholas throwing bags of gold coins in through the window and landing in their stockings. So there's this great tradition of putting out shoes the night before. We actually forgot the shoes the night before this year. Carrie and I put them out last night so the kids were ready to receive them in the morning.
But the kids would go get their shoes and then would set them out, and we've always done it by the fireplace. And if we have one, that's where we would put it. And the kids line them up on that in front of the fireplace, and then in the morning
we hide those. You've probably seen gold coins with chocolate inside. So we hide some of those in their shoes. I went overboard on it this year. We have lots of gold coins, and we put oranges in as well. There was a tradition that instead of gold coins, what St. Nicholas threw through a window was golden balls. And so oranges represent those golden balls. They also happen to be in season in the winter months in December. So that's probably where that tradition came from too. So those are the two things we stick in their shoes. And that's how we remember the St. Nicholas tradition. We don't lie to them and tell them that St. Nicholas dropped those things in their shoes. They know what the whole thing is about. But it's a fun way for us to remember this saint and to remember the story about the saint and his example of caring for children, caring for the poor, but also enduring persecution.
And that's what we usually talk about the day. So they wake up in the morning, they come out, and they find their chocolate coins, and especially the young ones that their first year, first couple years of it, they find it really exciting. So the older ones have learned to like draw back and let the younger ones discover the oranges, and there's so much joy, and they get to eat a couple chocolates, and they get to eat some oranges and with the rest of their breakfast. And that's a really great day. And then later we homeschool, so we homeschool for the day. And then when homeschooling is done, we usually access some wonderful websites about St. Nicholas. And there's so many activities on there. And we pick a couple activities and we talk about what does it mean in the Christian life, and what does it mean to be to sacrifice yourself. He sacrificed you heard the kids talk about it, he sacrificed a lot of his wealth for the sake of others. What does it mean for God maybe to call us to sacrifice the things that we have for other people? And so it's a constant, it's a small way, and when they're really small, it was like a coloring sheet. They colored it, and I talked to them about it, and they talked to me back, and that was it for St. Nicholas. But as they gotten older, they like to do more with it, and they have more in-depth conversations. But it's a chance and opportunity for, as a family, to have conversations about giving, about laying yourself aside in order to serve other people. And these things become common language, and you encourage the kids, look for a time during the day when you can maybe make yourself a little more uncomfortable for the sake of someone else. Maybe that's holding a small one and trying to struggle with holding them because they're strong, or maybe it's instead of running out the door to go play, maybe it's turning around and helping another kid tie their shoes, and giving out of your time of being outside to bless another person. And these are small ways in which they can kind of take part in the Christian story that's been given. So that's we love it, and the kids love it, and every year I'm tempted to not do it or skip it, and the kids are like, no, we love this. And all it is oranges and chocolate coins for us. Some people do elaborate gift giving, but we just keep it really simple. That way it happens every year. We pick up a bag of gold coins at Aldi when we're grocery shopping, and it's just simple.
They always have them this time of year.
Yes, always. It's always there when we need it. And it's cheap. It's like $1, which is incredible when you're talking about offering something to your children that allows you to have tradition but not cost too much, and be something even when we're in major debt, we could still afford that for our kids. And it was a great way to bring Jesus into the home in the middle of a season where it's so much about Santa and so much about all these things that really aren't true. You can bring truth into your home and light into your home.
And if you think about Santa Claus, and you say it really fast, you'll realize that Santa Claus is sort of a contraction of Saint Nicholas.
Yeah.
That's where all those traditions come from. So we don't do Santa Claus on Christmas morning, but we do Saint Nicholas on Saint Nicholas Day, December 6th. It's a great tradition. We commend it to you, and I think you'll enjoy it.
Enjoy it.
God bless you all. Happy Saint Nicholas Day.
If you like this video, could you like, comment, subscribe, share, and most importantly, could you comment in the section down below, what do you like to do with your family? What do you like to do to pass on your family traditions or share your family values with your kids? And we wish you a blessed Advent, and we pray that this would be a good time for you to find peace and rest in the midst of a really busy season. So God bless.
Happy St. Nicholas Day.